Grade 12 and the environment is top of the agenda this morning.
Friends of the Earth is launching a new campaign called The Big Ask.
Well, helping raise awareness is the singer Thom Yorke, along with the charity's director Tony Juniper.
Friends of the Earth have been parading a celebrity friend of their own.
And the singer is backing The Big Ask.
There's a climate change bill that we're going to try and get through the Commons.
What's drawn you to this campaign?
This ultimately is in response to what Margaret Beckett asked for in this programme. She asked for Friends of the Earth to come up with a constructive solution. The Big Ask is basically that solution.
I'm sure that the campaign that Tom and Friends of the Earth will run will bring a lot more attention onto the issue of climate change, and that can only be a good thing.
Go to thebigask.com and contact your MP and let's get this thing moving in Parliament where it needs to be.
If anybody's interested in this out there in the real world, if they sign one of these or go on to thebigask.com, can I borrow your pen?
Today we're in Battersea Park and we're shooting a 60-second cinema commercial for Friends of the Earth.
A Friends of the Earth advertising campaign to win support for legally binding targets to cut greenhouse gas emissions year on year.
It's important to run something like this so that the children here get they're aware of what's going on, and that also that it shows the government and the world leaders that we are trying to do something about the future and we're trying to make things better for our kids and we want them to help us out.
Back to the start again, now go. Back to the start. Back to the start.
12 minutes before 9, Radiohead singer Thom Yorke's amongst the artists taking part in a concert tonight.
Backing a Friends of the Earth campaign.
Welcome to the Big Ask Live!
Full up like a landfill, a job that slowly kills you, bruises that won't heal.
The best thing about The Big Ask for me is the fact that there's no longer this sense of powerlessness, which is what I had for so long about it all.
About to make a speech there. He's joined forces with Friends of the Earth.
Let's have a climate change bill in the Queen's speech.
Much tougher targets with a tighter timetable are needed to keep global temperatures below danger levels. How seriously do you think we should take it?
Well, the report does come from the respected Tyndall Research Centre on climate change. They look at the social, political, economic dimensions of climate change. But it was commissioned jointly by Friends of the Earth and the Cooperative Bank. And you'll recall they've been running for the last year or so the Big Ask campaign, where they've been trying to get this climate change bill.
One of the really important messages that's embedded in this report is that we can have comfortable lifestyles, we can continue to have economic growth, and at the same time to deal with this major environmental problem.
Will you, as Friends of the Earth and others are asking, introduce a climate change bill which will commit us to a reduction in CO2 emissions?
Well, much as you like, Jeremy, I'm not on your programme going to say what's in the Queen's speech. We certainly know that Friends of the Earth and a number of other groups are pressing us to introduce a climate change bill.
Yeah. Why have CO2 emissions increased since you came to office?
We have a climate change programme which we launched in March. Yes. We have the energy review which is putting us on a pathway to
Minister,
reduce the
you've just told
emissions
us
by
you're
60%.
committed to reducing them, and yet they have in fact increased since you came to power, correct?
Well,
is that correct or not?
Well, that figure is correct.
Thank you.
Hundreds of MPs, including Yorke's, have now backed tougher laws. He hopes the political climate is changing too.
the government is considering new legislation to combat climate change. The bill, which could be outlined in next month's Queen's speech.
The government's been under huge political pressure to introduce new laws on climate change. Pressure from Friends of the Earth, the campaign group.
Government's legislative programme for the coming year will include a new law to tackle climate change.
We're looking at whether legislation in the next session of Parliament could help meet this global challenge of climate change.
My government will publish a bill on climate change as part of its policy to protect the environment.
We have already seen that public pressure and backbench parliamentary pressure and opposition pressure has forced a government's hand. People often say, does anything change politics? Well, it has here. Friends of the Earth did a writing campaign for a climate change bill. Ministers poo-pooed the idea. What's the point of a bill, they said? Nonsense, it wouldn't be worth the paper it's written on. And ministers gradually have said, OK, a bill.
Britain could become the first country in the world to impose binding limits on greenhouse gases. The government's draft climate change bill would mean a 60% cut in carbon emissions by 2050.
This is a revolutionary step in confronting the threat of climate change. It sets an example to the rest of the world, but as important as anything else, I think it listens and responds to the strong desire on the part of the British people to take the lead on this issue and to keep it.
A lot is being said now about the threat posed by climate change and the need for action, and whoever's in power now and whoever's in power in the future, Friends of the Earth will be there to ensure that we get delivery.